Yo, what's going on YouTube? I want to talk about white phobia. And white phobia is this fear that black people have that, a white person has some sort of ultimate power or final authority over your life and, your job, your family. So at the drop of a dime or just simply picking up a telephone, they can therefore change up your whole situation. Um, and I think this fear is really preventing a lot of black people from trying to do better because they are automatically assuming that some white person is just going to take it away. Now, here's the problem. When we talk about white supremacy and we talk about white privilege, we have to understand that that is not shared by all of white America. If you put a group of people that represents the spectrum of white America into a room, they're going to know who has power and who doesn't. So the people who aren't doing well are going to know the white people who are making all of the decisions and therefore have all of the control. They're not going to look at the guy with the shovel and the overalls on. They're going to look at the guy with the business suit and the briefcase. They'll know he has power. But the second you introduced non-white people, in particular blacks and Hispanics and whoever, things change up. No longer do those white people who are not in power still understand that they have no power. They then want to side with the whites who do have power, and they want to act and feel as if they have some sort of power and authority over all the rest. An example, okay. When we were dealing with the whole election thing, we had McCain versus Obama, and we all had the co-workers, the white co-workers, who for some reason felt like they identified more with McCain simply because he was white. And they felt like, Obama had something to prove to himself and McCain, right? As if they existed on the same level as McCain. A lot of white America wants to feel like they have power. It's funny because we throw out white privilege and white supremacy, and certain whites would like to feel that power. So they try to side with those who have power. They try to act as if they have power, by being judgmental, by looking down, by making certain comments. But at the end of the day, they don't have it, right? What they want to do is create some sort of atmosphere where non-whites perceive them as having power. But when push comes to the shove and you test if they really have power, they don't have it. All they really have are just negative feelings towards black people. That's really it. They have no power to exercise their negative feelings towards black people or to exercise their wanting to have some sort of power and control. They don't have it. Another story. I remember I had some boys in college who rented out a condo, and they used to have kickbacks and they used to be fun. But they'd always get shut down because one of the white neighbors was complaining to the police, and the police were coming through and shutting us down. But what made it so interesting was it wasn't a party. None of the other neighbors were complaining because nobody knew what was going on. I don't know how the neighbor understood who was there and who wasn't, but nobody was in the backyard, no one was in the garage, no one was in the front yard, nobody was smoking, there was no loud music or heavy bass, so it was the epitome of a self-contained get-together where no one from the outside knew what was going on. Yet she just didn't like the fact that there was black people in her complex and she wanted it to stop. So she called the police and said that, there's a crowd of people here and all that other stuff. And the police would come, and they came about, two or three times, I can't remember. And they just shut us down. Up, you have to break this up, complaints. And of course, because it was a white woman who complained and because it was a white cop, everybody automatically assumed that they had some power or authority. But luckily, we looked over our rental agreement, or they looked over their rental agreement, and and they found out the policy pretty much in terms of what you can do with guests and what has to happen for, I guess, an event that you want to throw, right, to pretty much be shut down. And they weren't breaking any rules. They were complying, right? And none of the other neighbors were complaining. So the police had no jurisdiction in terms of what was going on in that condo. Because nothing was happening on the outside. No one else was being affected. She was just looking. I don't know how she even knew. It's like she was standing on her porch with binoculars looking to see who was there and who wasn't there. So after a while, it happened again. She tried to call the police. They came through. But guess what? We were able to tell the police that we're not breaking any rules. We're complying with the rental agreement. None of the other more local neighbors had any complaints because no music was being played. And the police really couldn't do anything. Really, they couldn't do anything. There was nothing that they can do to shut down our party / kickback. Nothing. So the great mighty police that we're all afraid of were powerless. And the point I'm trying to make is that people have limits in terms to what they can do in their, I guess, respective occupations. That's why everybody's quick to throw out titles in terms of, it's not Mr. So-and-so, it's Dr. So-and-so. Because the fact that he's a doctor means, he has more privilege and more power than you. Or when people hand out their business cards, they make sure they put, their credentials on it, the years of experience and all that other good stuff. Because everybody's trying to size each other up, who has certain powers and who doesn't. But Black America, we don't size up White America. Because a lot of these times, these people have no power. They're struggling just as much as you are. They're trying to pay their own rent. They're trying to pay their mortgage. They're trying to keep their jobs. So at the end of the day, they're just trying to front. It's all bark, but no bite. And even if they do have a bite, how strong is it? Right? There are laws to help people understand what's going on. No one can come through and just take you from your job. Right? That's a big misconception, and people need to be a little bit critical of people who promote this idea or try to scare people into thinking that white America can come through and do whatever the hell they want to do. No. Now, what happens to make black people assume that white people have power is that we don't know the laws for ourselves. Whether it's criminal, whether it's domestic, whether it's, some employee contract, whether it's some rental agreement. If you don't take time to understand what's going on, people will then be able to take advantage of you. And that's what happens in most of the cases. So in closing, people need to understand that when you are dealing with white America, there's going to be people with power and there's going to be people who don't have power. When those white people without power are in the company of other white people, they will know who has power and who doesn't. The second you add non-black people to the mix, or non-white people, then they want to feel like they have power. So they're going to, pretty much stick out their chest so that you can perceive them as having some sort of ultimate power and authority over your situation. That's what they want. But the second you take out, a couple of minutes in your day to figure out who exactly this person is and what they can do and what they can't do, literally they're powerless, right? They may frown at you, but you're just going to walk straight past them. And those of us who are in professional America or corporate America or whatever organization or company that we work for, we're fully aware of this. We're fully aware of the person who wants to act like they have some sort of power, but in the end, they really don't. So, I don't know. Tell me how you feel. Share your opinions. Take it easy. God bless.